we still have Amy, Shuang, and Ella not back yet for the squad, and then we have a few question marks, but we will have to wait and see for Saturday on a few other players. But otherwise, the rest should be able to play.
Oscar?
Hi. So far this season, your team has developed, I think, a real knack for scoring late goals. We saw it, Jessica Naz's late winner against Charlton, Bethany England's equaliser against Villa. What is it, do you think, about the mentality or the approach of your side that allows yourselves to stay composed and not panic during the closing stages of games, do you think?
I think part of the job we do is to work with being present and focus on the performance and try to not be too much affected of a goal, for example. So Liverpool, the first half, they scored a quite early goal. I think we create some problem for a while, and then we find ourselves back in the game and compete again. So it's a part of the journey where we want to make sure we control our performance by actually staying present and focusing on the game plan and everything. I think the characters in the play in the team are really good to try to do that. I think last season we had a really good comeback in some of the games as well. So that's a strength with the characters and the mindset we have. Then obviously we don't want to start bad and need to do that, but some games live their own lives and we need to find ways. And I just feel like the players are really keen to keep working really hard until the last second.
Okay, John?
So Manchester United have been strong defensively, yes, to concede a goal so far this season. How do you plan to break them down, create goal scoring opportunities on Sunday?
Obviously, they have started very well with 2 clean sheets and 2 wins. We played the last game before the league started against them, and we know they are very strong defensively, and Mark has worked with them for a few years now, and they have a good structure and a good balance in that. But one thing is that we are having a quite good form in scoring goals. We have scored 8 goals in the first 3 games. We have good attacking patterns. We have some really good players. So in one way is that we want to make sure we play really good football and create chances. The other thing will be to try to use the moment when we win the ball against them and try to counterattack as well. We have some really quick players that can be useful in this game as well. But we know that we're going to play against this really strong team away. So obviously we need to be very sharp in all these goal chances we get. But we scored 2 goals last season there as well. So we have a good plan for it. Thanks.
Okay, we will move to questions on the online feed using the raise hand function, please. Coming first to Tom Gary.
Thanks, Curtis. Good afternoon, Robert. Manchester United didn't have a game last weekend, which I appreciate was unusual, but just wondering how that changes things. Maybe do you expect them to be better, well rested and fresher, or is there like a lack of sharpness maybe that could help you guys? Conversely, are there 2 sides to it?
Yeah, and I think you can say both, and you probably are right, whatever you choose to say. But I feel like they started very well, and if they get an extra weekend off, they're going to use that to train really well, and they have good self-confidence. So for them, it's going to be good for them. For us, we come from a really tough fight with we obviously lost the game, but we come from a really good fight where we want to come back and try to win this game. So we're going to use that for our energy. So it's been a week for us as well, so we're going to be prepared. We're going to be, really full fit for this game as well. So it's going to be a good game. Both teams are ready for that game. We cannot blame the schedule. It's going to be the best team wins, basically.
Yeah, you mentioned it there a little bit, but can you put into words the fuel and the desire in your squad to bounce back from the Liverpool result? How can you sum that up in words?
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool is one of the best teams in the league. They were finished 4th place last season. The main thing why they are so difficult to play against is because they are really aggressive and play, defend. They press very well. They are quite straightforward with how they play. So if you do a mistake or anything like that, they are there directly and use that mistake. And that's tough. And also they are there to disturb the rhythm of the game and not make sure we get the right rhythm in our way. So I feel like the first half was really tough. But then we find a way to get back in the game. And I feel like we actually dominated the second half in a good way. We're creating chances. We scored 2 goals, but then they scored 2-1. And in the last time when we went for 3-2, they got a penalty and scored 3-2. So obviously that's really hard for us to have a good half, but still lose the game in the last minute. So then you can use that, like a good performance in second half, you still lost it. So now you need to, what's the English word, to have a comeback this week and to make sure you use that to get a win this week instead. So the players have worked really hard this week and trained very well. So we are prepared.
Oh, I wish you good luck, Robert. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tom. Go to George.
Hi, Robert. Good to hear from you. You'll obviously come up against Grace Clinton this weekend. I mean, I'm guessing it's not a surprise to you to see her already flourishing for Man United, but I'm guessing a little bit bittersweet as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, Grace as a person, as a player, amazing person, amazing player. We had a good relationship last season, and I think she's taken the last season into this season and performed very well for them. Scored goals in both games, and she's shining. So, I knew that was happening. So it's just great for her. This game is going to be tough for us because we're going to play against her. But on the other hand, we play against good players every week. So we're going to have a strategy how we're going to play, and we also know her well. So we also know how perhaps to try to stop her. But she's a very good player, of course.
And just finally from me, I mean, how kind of hard did the club and yourself push to try and get her back in the summer, or was it sort of very early on in the summer you knew it wasn't going to be a possibility?
I mean, honestly, we went down and was pushing for to go really hard. But when the club doesn't want to sell, it doesn't mean we don't have any power. So no matter what we want to pay for her, when the club doesn't want to sell, it's useless. So the board was ready to push the bottom and buy her, but they were not willing to sell. So then we need to respect that. And I totally get it. I mean, she's a great player. I wouldn't sell her if I were Man United either. So
Thank you.
Megan.
Hi, Robert. Nice to see you again. I just wanted to talk briefly a little bit about Clare Hunt. She put a really impressive shift in against Liverpool last weekend. I just want to get your thoughts on sort of how much of a valuable asset she's become to the squad in such a short space of time since her signing.
I think adapting to this league is not the easiest. So she came from Australian league to the French league for a season and then to the English league. Obviously, she's a really good player playing a lot of games for the national team, but to adapt to this league and to manage this league, it's been impressive how she do that, especially out of possession, how she win her duels, set pieces, her strength in that. In possession, she's a very good footballer to actually dictate the game. Then you still see some mistakes she's doing back and forth with the tempo of the play in this league and how the press is still higher than I expect in the French league when they play against poorer divisions and so on. So it's a journey for her to adapt, but I think in the long end she will be the best, one of the best centre backs in this league because she's so good in and out of possession and she's strong to handle the big defenders in this, the big strikers in this league as well. So great first month with her, but I also see even more potential. And the last thing is her leadership. She's only 25, but she's speaking and acting like she's 35. So it's really nice character to have in the group as well.
Yeah, of course. And just staying on new recruits a little bit, obviously Spurs flourished in the transfer window and seen a number of additions to the squad, which has made for sort of a bit more of a competitive starting 11, which, don't get me wrong, is a fortunate position to be in. But is there anything in particular that you're looking for in training when it comes to sort of making those decisions around who's making the starting 11 each week? There's been obviously a bit of a chop and change over the last couple of games. So I just wondered about your thought process there.
I mean, when you build a squad, you want to find a way where you have key players that you normally play quite much. You want to have those players who are competing for the starting 11. You want to have those players who can handle to be on the bench for a few games and take the chance when they get it. And then you need a few normally younger ones who want to compete to be in the squad, in the game, to get some minutes. When you get the perfect balance there, then you're still going to have people breaking those lines because perhaps a squad player becomes a starting player or a starting player becomes a key player. I think that's the journey we do now. We have the same starting 11 for 3 games, I think, and then you have those players who perform well when they come onto the pitch, and perhaps some of the players who play need to find ways to keep the spot, perhaps. So it's always a every week decision to build, and then you need to speak to the players about why you're not playing and why you're playing, and try to build trust and still give them trust even if they don't play. You want to explain why and so on. So that's the trickiest part with my job, but it's also the most fun part because if you find your way, then you build an enormous strength with the togetherness and the groupness. So I think it's the daily work for me, and that's one of the main missions why I'm here, to try to find ways to motivate the players, even if they're playing or not playing.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense. So thanks very much, Robert, and best of luck on Sunday.
Cheers.
Dan?
Hi, Robert. Hope you're well. You spoke about obviously scoring late goals. I just want to ask about the goals conceded, and I think all 4 goals have been after the 75th minute mark. So, is that a concern at all to you?
I mean, receiving goals is a concern because you don't want to receive goals. And then when you look at how they are created, it's a part of the process. So the last goal that who did we play against? Last game. The last goal they score, Liverpool, is basically from us having a free kick on our half to try to go for it. So the correct decision would be something else that we didn't do. But then you need to be aware that you played a really tough game and you have worked really hard to take the right decisions all the time. So all of a sudden you might take a different choice than you normally should do, and then you give them a transition, and then they get across, and then they get a penalty. So we're learning from that, but it's also part of the journey where we need to be better, because we're giving those chances away and those opportunities for the opponent to score. So it doesn't concern me, but we need to fix that. We need to be better there, because we're losing points because of that. And that's the part of football. That's the part of the journey. That's the part of development. So every week we look at that and how we should improve those moments, and hopefully we don't find so many moments so we can actually go for 3-2 and win this game instead. But I'm not really concerned. It's a part of the journey, and if we fail, that's because we are where we are, and then we need to take steps from there. But I hope we can remove these small mistakes so we don't end up in those late goals that we receive, and then we win these games as well, because we could have won this game.
And in terms of kind of getting that balance between attack and defence, I know obviously we've seen kind of two sides of Spurs last season. At the start, you obviously went for goals, and then the second half of the season, you were much better defensively. Where do you feel you are in terms of where you want the overall team to be at the minute? Is it just about kind of pulling the mistakes away, defensive mistakes, and then you've got that better balance?
I think if you look at like 3 games, 8 goals, so that's a good number to get 8 goals in the first 3 games. I feel like how we have received goals is quite easy to see that we have done mistakes that given the opponent a few of those goals. So if we can remove them and keep scoring those goals, then we look good. But the other thing, if you look at performance, I think we haven't dictated the games and actually dictated them for a long time, especially Aston Villa and first half against Liverpool. So I think we need to take steps how we can be better in those 3 halves, because we should create more chances. We should have the ball more and make sure we dictate the game. Crystal Palace was a good game. Second half of Liverpool was a good game. So we need to find ways to dominate the game more. And then you have Liverpool who coming and pressing really high and do everything they can to stop us. So we need to find ways to break that down. Sometimes it takes 45 minutes, but we need to get better there, because if we're going to beat Liverpool, we need to not give them energy. We need to steal their energy by actually having a really good build-up and attacking football. So we're not there yet, but we're taking steps. We score more goals. We create quite many goal chances. Perhaps we didn't hit another of the goal chances on goal, but when you look at the goal chances against Liverpool, we actually have 5 or 6 in the second half where I feel like that could actually been a goal if we were a little bit more sharp in the finishing moment. So I'm not stressed about that. It's more like the toughness of this league. It's so competitive. Aston Villa, Liverpool, Brighton. It's so many teams that basically invest and compete with us. So you cannot expect us now to just win 3-0 every game, because it's too tough right now. So we need to learn how to take every new game as it is and find a way to win that and still do the game model and the Tottenham way in the same time. And that's the balance, to try to win but still focusing on the identity we have. So we are in a good spot, but obviously we have a few really tough games coming up. So we also need to focus on getting points, but also make sure we develop our game.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Robert. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Dan. Jamie?
Hi, Robert. After Manchester United, you'll play, of course, Manchester City, Arsenal, and, of course, Chelsea within the space of 4 games. Could it prove to be a difficult time for Tottenham and also a learning curve for the club as well?
I think we have Chelsea after Man United, but yeah, it's tough games. If we lose the next upcoming 4 games, it's a really tough period of time. If we win a few of them, we're going to feel like, oh, we're already there. So the main thing is to break it down to performance, and every game is unique. And then you need to take Man United for what it is, and then you really work hard with that, and then you analyze that, and then you prepare yourself for the next game, which will be Chelsea away. Obviously, Man United away and Chelsea away is 2 of the most tough games you can have in a season. So to expect us to go there and dominate the game and win 3-0, perhaps not, but the aim is that, and we want to reach there. So we're going to push for moments and perhaps most of the game to try to do that. And if we lose anyway, I'm going to make sure we develop and break it down and see how we can develop. But that's the fun part with football. You want this kind of, opponents. You want these kind of games. We are Tottenham. We are not like a small club. We are a big club. So we want to compete with these clubs. So if we want to be a top team, we need to compete with the top teams. So it's going to be a fun game against Man United. We have really good games against them. And I think from last season, there were 2 really tough games and 1 really good game away against them. So we had a good preseason game against them. So we know how we can hurt them, but we also need to be very, very good. Otherwise, we're not going to have a good chance to win. So we're going to make sure we have a good game and good preparation.
And also last from me, Robert, I just wanted to ask, earlier in the week, you mentioned that you want Tottenham to be a Champions League competing club. And of course, Manchester United have been there in previous seasons. And they've got a lot of players in that squad who have played in the Champions League. So what players stick out to you and they're going to be a problem on the weekend?
What did you say in the end? What stick out?
Well, what players can really stick out to you over the weekend?
From Man United, you mean?
Yes, from Manchester United.
I mean, if you look at their starting 11, their squads, the other games, it's obviously it's not a single player that is not really, really good. They didn't even have Anna Sandberg in the squad, and I loved working with her in Häcken. So if you look at the squad they have a Champions League squad. They have a Champions League starting 11. On the other hand, it's not all about how big names you have. It's also about how you perform and how you can compete. And I think if you look at our squad, our starting 11 is also players that have played in the Champions League, many of them. I have coached in the Champions League, and I feel like when we have a good day, we are competing for the Champions League. But right now, when we have a bad day, we're not really nailing it. So that's the consistency we need to find. But in a good day, we can compete and win against Man United. But if you just look at the squad they have and we have, so of course they have more names that basically played in the Champions League and are more expensive in one way, but we can compete with them. But I don't need to name any players because all the players are good.
Thank you very much, Robert. All the best.
Cheers.
Chris.
Hi, Robert. I hope you're well. Just want to talk to you about the penalty decision last week. Obviously, you've had a few days to look at that and review that. I know you're not one to criticise referees, but is this the time to introduce VAR into the WSL? And would you like to see that happen soon?
It's a tricky question with VAR because it's like I come from Sweden, where you basically have the only country who hasn't have it, and they don't really want it at all because it destroys the feeling of each situation and so on. So I can have the Swedish side in me that kind of doesn't want it, but then I also see how when it works well, how good it makes the games look as well, and then sometimes you see how much it disturbs the games. So I don't want to actually take a side. The main thing is for me, I will always respect the league I work in and what they want to do. But obviously, when you look at that penalty, and if you ask me what I feel, it's a very soft penalty. I wouldn't say that it's obvious a penalty. But then I'm also aware that decision making for a ref is really hard. So I just feel like I don't want to push them to the limit where we just need to blame the referees all the time. We just need to make sure we take steps. But it was a really hard decision, I must say that. And it was really hard when I look at it afterwards because it still feels very soft.
Rob, ahead of the Manchester United game, you just said there you expect a fun game against United, but could this turn into a spicy and feisty encounter? Because bearing in mind you lost the FA Cup final to them, Grace Clinton, of course, has gone back. Selena's just signed for them. Do you think this will be a feisty encounter for you, the players, and the fans? And do you see them as a big rival?
Definitely. I feel like they are one of those teams last season where we competed with, but they were one spot higher than us. And I feel like if we want to break into the Champions League, Man United is one of those teams we need to get, beat and be better at. And I feel like their fans they have a big support of fans and they are loud. And I just love that they are loud and, they brought them to Brisbane Road as well. So for me, as a coach, to be a part of this league and the fan base from Tottenham and Man United, I actually like that. So even you should never like the opponent's fans, and I'm not liking them, but I like the atmosphere that creates when we have our fans and we have a antagonist where we actually compete against. And I feel like they have Selena and Grace who played with us last season. Obviously, there's something with that as well. But no, I'm just looking forward to this game so much because I want to beat Man United.
Best of luck. Thanks, Robert.
Cheers.
Alex.
Afternoon, Robert. You mentioned it just slightly there to Chris, but obviously Celine did jump ship. Is there any extra incentive to kind of perform this weekend to beat them, considering she obviously thinks United is a better fit for her future? Is there any incentive there to think, well, actually, Spurs was maybe the better place to be?
No, not at all, to be honest. It's like I'm trying to stay present. And last season, I was loved working with Celine. We had a really good relationship, and she was performing very well. When she find herself wanted to leave and go to another club, then when that is happening, then it's reset, and she's a Man United player, and I will respect her because she's still a very good player. But if we win on Sunday, I will not say, Celine, now you picked the wrong team, because she picked the right team because she want to be there, and that's fine. And I just have enormous respect for her as well. So no, I want to win for our fans. I want to win for our squad. I want to make sure we compete with Man United. I still like Grace and Celine a lot. So no, I don't feel like that.
That's all from me. Good luck on Sunday.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you.